Welcome back to Birds with Words. I'm your host, Sean Fitzgerald, the author of A Sinner's Past and A Fold to Extinction. Today we have Janelle with us, another lovely author. Janelle, can you go ahead and introduce your novels and where we can find your work?
Absolutely. So, so far I've written two novellas. So this is Ghost Room, which I published in 2023, and this is Death Cult, which I just published last year, 2024. And you can find me on Twitter, X. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Goodreads. And I also have a website, JanelleSchiecke.com, where you can find me as well.
Perfect. And I'll also include all the links at the bottom, as always. So, Janelle, let's start with your first novel, Ghost Room. It's a young adult novel. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, I have to ask because we're both horror authors. We're both in the
Yeah.
Dark Veil Society. Why did you start with a young adult novel?
Honestly, so when I started out, I wanted to do something a bit more mainstream, I guess you could say. I wasn't sure. I was a little scared to go full dark, so I kind of wanted to do something more mainstream, and I really loved it. It was so fun to write, and I think a big part of it too was I wanted to kind of revisit my childhood in a way, because the three main characters are much like me and my two friends growing up. And it was kind of an homage to my past. I grew up in Ohio, so it takes place in the Midwest. And yeah, so that's why I kind of wanted to start with that one. And I always like kind of spooky, paranormal. I'm into that as well. So that was a fun first story to go with.
Okay. So, since you said that you're in the spooky paranormal, how many ghost tours have you been on?
Here's the crazy thing: I've been on no ghost tours. I know, but I did a lot of visiting, scary places with my friends growing up, and kind of researching events and kind of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I had to ask. I grew up out west and right
Yeah.
next to Virginia City, which is known for nothing but ghost tours. And
Yeah.
I've never put any credence behind them, but I really
Mhm.
enjoy sharing with people who are hardcore believers of it. So
Yeah.
that's my pastime. So I
Oh,
had to
that's
ask.
cool. I love that.
All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty of it. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to skip over your young adult novel, but
No, no, no.
I think it's interesting that your next one, and I haven't received my copy yet of Death
Mhm.
Cult. It's still in the mail, so I'm sorry I don't have insight to share that. But it's more violent, and it's obviously tailored to your adult
Mhm.
audience. Why did you choose a cult?
Oh gosh, I just feel like I wanted to do something. I want to do something. I wouldn't want to say unique because there are other cult books, but I don't think it's written about a ton. And I just like the whole idea. I get a lot of my ideas from movies. Um, House of a Thousand Corpses is one movie I kind of got my idea from. Just about this kind of setting and this group of people who kind of uh, lure these unsuspecting people into this ghost town. And I just wanted, I don't know, it's so ominous, and it's kind of, I go into detail of the cult, but I I think it's just so raw and brutal. I just felt like I could not get away, but like I felt like I could get into more unsettling territory with the cult.
Yeah, absolutely. So I recently sat down and talked with Saffron, and we talked about the cult that somewhat appears in Sinner's Pass. Uh,
Mhm.
do you use the cult in Death Cult as a critique of any type of your personal beliefs or a critique of any type of religious belief in society?
Um, Honestly, I don't. Yeah, I just kind of I mean, I do like how obviously when you read it there are some, there is some kind of religion involved, you could say the dark side. But no, when it came down to it, I just wanted to write a fun story that was shocking, and fun. And so I didn't really delve much into the religious aspect that much.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody writes a slightly different way.
Mhm.
And since it's a cannibal cult, which, is always fun.
Yeah.
Itchy tasty here. What type of weird research went into cannibalism?
Oh, this is a good question. So I'm sure you've done research like this as well because you're a horror author. So I had to Google, what does human meat taste like? What are sounds, of bones being sawed or cracked, or and I've watched some crazy, I've watched Cannibal Holocaust. I've watched a lot of crazy movies. And so I kind of wanted these cult members are basically animals. So when they feed like animals, kind of in a frenzy. And, so yeah, a lot of the research is based around taste and smell and sound.
Okay. So then I have to ask, in the middle of recording, or excuse me, recording, in the middle of research, did anybody walk in on you and just kind of side eye you, like, why are you looking at that?
Well, my husband, my son know I'm so into horror. And when my husband and I, gosh, we've been married for so long, so almost 20 years now. Yeah, when we met, we were both really into horror. And so we kind of delved into a big, into a lot of those movies. So they weren't surprised, but, they were just like, well, if the government ever sees what you're Googling, that's always a joke, right? That's a joke with every author.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was kind of, I guess it was entertainment, because they're always like, what's mom or what's my wife researching today?
That's fair. So I have to say, have you written anything that in particular to Death Cult that is even hard for you to read?
Death Cult, I do have the Clatterman coming out, after Death Cult. And there is some parts that were, that are unsettling in that book. And parts of Death Cult, yeah, I've done a few whips, and I'm getting dark in them. But there are definitely parts of Death Cult where I couldn't eat while I was editing, because it's just it was just too revolting. And as being a horror author, when you get that feeling, it's like, yes, because your readers are going to experience the same thing.
We hope. And obviously I can't ask you to expand on that, because I don't want people to feel like the scene is ruined. But is there anything that was a personal, I don't want to say phobia, but I guess anything that of yours that really came out in it, that you're like, I wrote this because I don't like it, and I assume other people don't like
it? Yeah, I guess like I do like to focus on isolation, in my stories, and that was one aspect, because when you don't have any help and you're kind of isolated, and there's not a lot of, Death Cults in the 80s and Ghost Rooms in the 90s. I like to write stories that take place in the past and were my childhood. So it's a little fun to go back to those time periods. So yeah, I think for myself, I remember being stranded, in the 90s, or, and having to find a payphone, or, not being able to contact someone right away. And being away from friends and family is definitely, I think, a fear too, being in, and the unknown really is a big one as well. So those are, I find those topics scary. And yeah, I think readers will too.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was going to ask you next, is how do you create the isolation? So you use time periods to create.
I love using time periods. Yeah. I don't like, technology is great, but I feel like, going back to those time periods definitely creates a heightened sense of terror and foreboding, not being able to dial up help, right around the corner.
Yeah. And I struggle with that. I created a justification, in-world justification in Sinner's Pass, that wasn't time period based, but I mean, it's just exactly what you have to struggle with. So you have an upcoming novel, and I think by the time this is aired, it'll be out ready, and I can include that in the links. But just before we jump into talking about your upcoming novel, I want to
Mhm.
ask, how did you get into horror? Because I mean, I think if most people saw you on the streets, they'd be like, "This is a super sweet lady." Not somebody I would expect to be looking up, how to properly cook the meat muscle off of a human leg.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I love this question because I feel like I was always kind of into the strange and unusual. I didn't like anything that was normal. Um, I like horror because first of all, it's shocking. I don't want to watch something that doesn't scare me or move me. Um, get the heart, get the heart racing. Um, and I do like gore. I like all the practical effects. I like all the with movies per se. And I would say that's what first got me into horror. Just what you see, what you experience, and then at the end when usually the underdog does win. Sometimes they don't. Um, and just that whole feeling, going through this whole journey and seeing the odds that these normal people go up against. Um, it's unsettling. I want to watch things that irk me and kind of, I don't know, stir up these strong emotions. Because what it is you watch something crazy and then, oh, you got through it, you're okay, and you can move on with the rest of your day. But it's kind of a jolt, um, in a good way, if that makes any sense.
It 100% does.
Yeah.
I think that in the Dark Veil Society, we all had that conversation that
Mhm.
we are all super laid back and chill people. And it's
Mhm.
probably because we're always diving into like the worst parts of humanity.
Yes, and that's another part what I like about it. Yeah, because I don't wanna watch, and nothing against romance or whatever, but it's too, I don't know, it doesn't really do anything for me, you
I
know,
completely get it.
yeah.
I completely understand that. So we have a young adult novel. We
Mhm.
have a contemporary death cult novel.
Mhm.
Do you ever plan on combining genres? And I say that, like, for example, sci-fi and horror often goes together. We have like
Yeah.
Alien has a great combination.
You're a big Aliens fan, I know that.
I am a huge
Yeah.
Aliens fan. I'm also a huge Michael Crichton fan. So my next follow
Oh,
up was like
nice.
the Jurassic Park novel,
Mm.
sci-fi, but it's also very horror related. Or
Mhm.
do you plan on only staying horror slash paranormal?
Um, it's interesting. So I have a little romance in Clatterman, which was kind of fun. Um, so I do think having that in horror is fun because it's kind of those two different parallels. Um, I don't know. I do think about sci-fi. I've talked about The Substance a lot. I love that movie. I do like the whole horror sci-fi aspect because you can kind of push the boundaries a little more. So I think that's something I might get into. Um, that's the one I've been toying with is playing around with sci-fi. So I'd say that's you know
The opportunities are endless, so I really enjoy
yeah.
sci-fi, even just standalone sci-fis. But then I have to ask, since you said you have a romance built into your upcoming novel, and trust me, we're getting there. I'm just purposely teasing everybody out there and building up the anticipation for that
That's all
last
good.
strikeout. Uh, do you ever base any of the characters that you have off people you've met?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of my husband goes into a lot of the characters I write a little bit. A lot of the characters are aspects of me. Um in Ghost Room, two of the main characters were based off of a couple of my childhood friends. I feel when you do that, you're able to kind of create their personality so much, I don't want to say easier, but it does help when you know their nuances, their humor or their irks, their face, even their facial expressions. Um, so yeah, I definitely do that. I think it's fun, and it's fun when you can tell them to your friends and family. Oh, by the way, this character was kind of based off of you. So yeah, I do enjoy doing that.
So you also never use their names then, since you have to tell them.
Hmm?
Do you ever use their names since you have to tell them, hey, this
No,
name?
I never use their names. Yeah, it's always a different name.
Okay. I have one particular character that my wife's like, ooh, that's getting really close to what their actual name is. I was
Oh,
like,
that's funny.
they're not gonna figure it out.
It is always tricky, right? Because you want to choose a good name, and it would be easy if you could just choose their name, but it's kind of fun to, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Or you could use their personality, but completely change the way that they appear, describe their parents. That way, they come in. It's like, well, is this me? No, that's not me. Is that me?
Exactly. You keep them guessing.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if I want to show up in a horror author's book though. Like, that's probably. But then there's that side of it. It's like, are they trying to say something here?
I know.
Why was their death so gruesome compared to everybody else?
Exactly.
All right, so we've teased it enough. Clatterman. So it's coming out. What's the release date for Clatterman?
So it's May 6th.
May 6th of 2025. All right. So I know it's as of recording this, we haven't been able to talk too much about it because we don't want to dive in. But what can you tell us? What's going to draw people in to Clatterman that Death Cult didn't have?
So Clatterman, it has Death Cult's really about the gore and the shock, and which I absolutely love that about it. It's so fun. So Clatterman, does have that, but it also has these 5 central characters who are best friends. So it revolves around. It's kind of a mix. It has the horror, but then it has this friendship. So, and it's a fun journey. They rent a summer cabin, which is one of my favorite tropes of horror. I love the cabin trope. So yeah, it has a lot of humor because all these friends are very different. So I love writing dialogue. I really, really enjoy that. I think dialogue, it can move the story forward, obviously, but it can also create, just humor and kind of lighten up the mood a little bit before you go into that next death scene.
Absolutely. So let me ask, since you have so many characters, is it a multiple POV or do you focus on a singular character?
It's a multiple POV. Yeah, and so not the whole time, but it does kind of skip back and forth. I enjoy writing that way. I've wrote Ghostwritten was written first person, but I've kind of enjoyed writing, more kind of that way where you can kind of play around with the atmosphere and
Yeah, I've seen some people complain about it before, and I think if done correctly, it enables you to give the reader insight. And then when you jump to another character that doesn't have that insight, it adds that suspense. So I do think, especially for horror, I think it's an effective way to communicate a story. So is it also paranormal, or is this going to be more grounded in reality?
So it is paranormal because he's an urban legend. So that aspect is paranormal. And again, it takes me back to, got you think about Candyman, Bloody Mary. Again, these are all part of my childhood, which kind of spurred this idea for this story.
Okay, so we're not facing a Tucker versus Dale type of. Okay, I love that movie, so I had to bring.
Oh, it's a great movie. I love it too. It's so fun.
So then we have to go into, and obviously feel free to just be like, hey, I don't want to spoil this. Is there anything in there that is specifically derived from something that you experienced within Clatterman?
I would say, I think the one thing that really I have experienced is the whole Conjuring aspect. So, my friends and I would try to do Bloody Mary as kids. We never got to the third. We never got to say her name the third time. But we did do that quite often. So that's definitely something I experienced, which I really thought was fun. And so I won't describe The Conjuring, but obviously that does take place.
Okay.
And I also, it does take place in Pennsylvania. That's where the cabin is. I grew up in Ohio. So I do know the Midwest very well. So that's another aspect of, my personal life that's kind of added in there. I visited Pennsylvania a lot as a kid. So
Okay, so we got a little bit in there.
Mhm.
So what what elements between, let's say, Death Cult and the
Mhm.
Clatterman are similar, so that fans of Death Cult will find in Clatterman, and then what elements do you think are new where you could probably attract other horror enthusiasts that weren't into like cannibalism necessarily?
Gotcha. So I think Death Call does have some humor. Clatterman has humor, and I would say it even has more humor because of more characters, more dialogue. So people who appreciate the humor in Death Call will definitely appreciate it in Clatterman. It's obviously gory. It has that as well. Uh, I guess the difference is there is romance, so that might attract a different audience that way. Um, it is, death cult cannibalism is something I think some people might be uncomfortable reading. So I 100% get that. So with Clatterman, there might be some more people who might want to check it out who wouldn't want to check Death Call out. So I guess there's that aspect too.
Okay, perfect. So we talked about your three novels. I know we were light on your young adult one. So before I get
Mhm.
into the other questions, is there anything else you'd want to say? Because I don't want to cheapen out one of your novels. If you have anything that you want to share about it.
No, I guess the one thing I would like to say is just that, I just like, horror should be fun. So I just enjoy writing, uh, fun, entertaining stories, for readers. Every story I write is, I don't like them to get too deep where I guess I just want them to be kind of light and fun and entertaining, but also they're shocking. Um,
Absolutely.
but it should be a fun ride. So that's why I enjoy writing these stories.
So in other words, what I'm going to take out of that is you're not lecturing to us as an author in any of your stories. So that's, in my opinion, that's a great thing, because I feel like when I feel that the author is using the book as a medium to lecture me, I don't want to read
Mhm.
it anymore. So uh,
I'm the
I,
same way. There's no lecturing in my stories, and I'm actually the same. I don't want to be lectured. I just want to have a fun time with
yeah,
a story. That's all I want to do.
exactly. I'm reading so I can get away from everything else that I
Yes,
already hate.
exactly.
All right, so let's learn a little bit about you. So you've told us where you're from. You've told us a
Mhm.
little bit about your childhood. You went to Pennsylvania quite often.
Mhm.
So what was the trigger that made you go, I'm going to start writing? Not only am I going to start writing, I'm going to start writing horror.
Um, so with writing, I always loved writing. I when I was younger, I used to write poems, not as much short stories. My friends and family used to always tell me, "Oh, you're such a good writer." But I was like, "Are you just saying that?" I wasn't sure. So it wasn't until I got into my 20s that I actually, you know, uh thought, well, maybe I could actually do something with this. And it wasn't until self-publishing became more accessible and more, I don't want to say easy because it's a hell of a lot of work. But once there were tools that enabled us as self-publishers to, get our stories out there, that helped too. As far as horror, I've been watching horror since Nightmare on Elm Street is the first big horror movie I remember watching, and that was when I was about 8. I know I watched horror movies before that. I just don't. That was the one that really stuck out. So that's always been my thing. And I like to talk about this because I am a Gemini, so I like to think that that kind of plays in with it. Um, so I'm a very bubbly person, but I also love exploring the dark side because I think you need to work with the dark and the light, or else you know, it's just kind of boring. You need to explore both aspects.
I completely get that. So that's actually goes into my next question, is that
Yeah.
as an author, being an author is a brand in and of itself.
Mhm.
What's the most difficult piece for building your brand?
Oh gosh, I think for me personally, um, I think it was just coming into myself and trying to figure out how I want to present myself to the world. Because when you're on Twitter, you're tweeting to the world. So I think it's just kind of uh, I'm always a very sincere, genuine person, but it was hard for me to show that at first online. You know, I was a little more reserved when I started posting. But now I think it's become easier. And I think that you know, just opening up and showing my personality, and also building a community, which is amazing. I know you and I have both of these amazing communities, you know, Dark Veil Society. That's another aspect I worked on. It took a long time to develop. And that's so crucial, is having that community behind you. So I think that, and just showing my true gender self were things that I kind of worked to, you know, they were a process, of evolving process. And now I have them down, and it's really fun, but it took a while, you know, to get there.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how writing is such an introverted isolationist like hobby, and then the second it comes to like getting your book out there, it's like, and now you have to be extroverted.
It's so true. It's, you know, it's funny because you know, in real life, like, you know, if I go out or something, I just don't want to talk to anyone. Not that I'm a mean person, but I just, you know, I just don't want to. I'm not a big small talk person. But it's funny if it's books or movies, it's just, I'll just talk all day, you know? So it is really funny though. You're so right. You kind of have to, and that's one thing I didn't realize either. I didn't realize how much marketing is involved. And I didn't realize how only about 5% of being a self-publisher is actually writing the book.
I know and you know, every single author I speak to, that's where they say, hey, this is the part that's terrible. It's like writing the book. You can have the next, you know, Of Mice and Men. You could be the next Steinbeck. You could be the next whatever type of author you want to be. But if you can't get that out there to the right people, it's just going to sit there, and you're never going to go anyplace. And that's really sad. But there's not a way to easily enable people finding it. And it's still true that the easiest way to get a novel to be popular is it has to be word of mouth. But then how do you get the right people talking about it, right? So paid ads aren't the way to go. That's for sure. I can tell you.
No, I've tried those, and they
and at the same time, if you look back, I hate ads on YouTube, so I can only imagine how people feel about ads anyplace else. So completely a shared experience between all of us there. So we talked about your characters a little bit, you know, and how you kind of base them off some people that you do know, but you don't go too far into like naming them after them. But do you ever take a personal experience and write it into your stories?
Oh yeah, I do, for sure. You know, I feel like with Ghost Room, you know, I did grow up on a big, you know, we had a big plot of land. It was about an acre, you know, and so when Jess moves to this new house, her experience there is a lot like my experience, having this big plot of land, having a forest in the back. You know, with Death Cult, I would say no, not a lot of personal experiences in that one. Although I did really want a Fox Body Ford Mustang when I was younger. I never had one. So Jason drives one in Death Cult. So there you go. So it's in there.
Living vicariously through your characters. I understand it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think the most with me is personality wise. You know, the main character in Clatterman is, you know, a lot of her is based off of me. And, you know, Carrie and Death Call is kind of based off of me as well in some respects. So I think personality wise, you know, that's most of it. I do have a story that I wrote about grief. I did lose my parents, you know, 5 years ago. And so that's something I'm going to explore, but you know, it's also hard to kind of open up those wounds again. So I would be really good at writing grief, and that's probably something I'll kind of, you know, explore more at some point.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
I'll say that, you know, not to talk too much about my own writing, but I definitely used my upcoming series to get a lot of personal experiences off, as I'm not going to go to a therapist because they're just going to tell me that I need to suck it up, right? Because that's what a therapist is going to say. Absolutely professional there, but I absolutely used that to get some of that out in a way that isn't obviously like, hey, I just want to trauma dump on you guys today.
Yeah.
It's a great writing, at least gives you that. And I also journal in my personal life just
Oh,
to
nice.
keep my own thoughts like moving. And that's also a super effective way. So anybody listening to this, if you're struggling with something, I highly recommend picking up journaling just to get the thoughts down. Whether or not you go back is completely up to you on it. So.
And it's funny when you talk about that, because going back to Death Cult, I was really upset about losing my parents. So I had a lot of rage. And so writing that book kind of helped, because there's a lot of gore and there's a lot of violence, and it did feel good to kind of like channel, that energy. And honestly, that book was very therapeutic for me. So yeah, I did channel that aspect into that book.
Yeah, writing is great therapy all in of itself.
Yeah, it really is.
So let's get to know a little bit more about just your process. So you have a very interesting looking room. You have a personal library there. I see some Star Wars guys there.
Oh yeah, no, these are my husband's a big video game collector, so these are
okay.
Awesome. I want to
Awesome.
get some books in here, but I have some books upstairs. I'm working on getting more shelving.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell it because it's the picture quality on my end. Just I'm like I think those are books.
Yeah. No, there's definitely Star Wars stuff though.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. So is this room where you do the magic? Is this where you write?
This is sometimes it's, I guess I would say half and half. Half the time, we kind of share this office. So half the time I write down here, and half the time I'll write upstairs. We have like a little desk, a corner desk where I'll write. But this is nice. This is kind of, away from the rest of the house.
Yeah, I get that. That's how my office is set up.
Yeah.
Get away from the clatter. So do you need specific things in your area as you write?
I don't. Well, I have these little, these little figurines.
You got to show them. You're sitting there. You got to show them.
They're upstairs. I wish I had them upstairs, but I do have these little, these little guys. I have Jason and Chucky and these little, and I have a Nightmare Before Christmas set. So I have those. I have some plants. The plants always kind of, give a vibe. So that's it though. I obviously have some books, a lot of indie books that surround me, which I enjoy. That's it though. And I'll have some tunes on. I like to listen to like chill wave, just beats. I'll have that going in the background.
Okay, so you listen to chill wave music while describing cannibalism. Is that what I'm getting out of this?
Yeah, which is crazy. You think it'd be metal or something, but no. Again, Gemini.
Okay, so is there a specific artist that you like to listen to while you write?
His name's well, it's funny. Com Trues is one I like.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll throw on some Amos Lee. I do like Amos Lee. Although there are some lyrics, I usually don't listen to music with lyrics, but as long as it's chill, I guess sometimes I'll put on some Post Malone, but usually it's the chill wave.
Okay, and because I have my own reason for not listening to music while I write with lyrics, what is your reason for not listening to lyrics?
It just maybe it's your reason too, but if I hear the words, it just conflicts with what I'm writing.
Yeah, I'll end up accidentally writing something that I'm hearing.
Yes.
not even if I'm intending to do it.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to think of something and my fingers are still moving, it makes me sound like I have a mental problem by saying that. Maybe I do. I don't know.
No, I completely understand, because I do the same way. Like I'll write a word that I just heard in the song.
Exactly. Yeah. So I try to avoid lyrics, and it's funny because I share common music that I listen to, and some of it did have lyrics to it, but for writing specifically, and looking back, I'm like, these people probably all think I have something wrong, because this is not normal music to just like listen to on a normal basis. But it works for writing. So
yeah.
All right. So you have figurines around you. You don't need a specific drink. Like I have to have my tea or my coffee while I write.
Oh, coffee. Yeah, I do have to have my coffee.
Well, then we have to ask, is there a type of coffee that's for writing and a type of coffee that's for, just a normal Saturday morning?
I do love lattes. I'm a big oat milk latte person. So big into lattes. Yeah.
Do you have to do it yourself, or do you have to buy it from someplace really specific?
It's like, I guess it's like 50-50, but when I do buy it, it's from a very specific place, and it's not Starbucks. Like Starbucks can't. It's just too I don't know. It's too what's the word? Too, I don't know, too toasted, or it's
Yeah,
also too bitter for my taste, I guess.
yeah, I feel like their actual coffee is, and I'm probably gonna get sued by Starbucks for saying this. I feel like their actual coffee is burnt, and
Yes.
then their lattes are so heavy cream based that I'm like, I'm just drinking sweetened cream. There's not actually caffeine or coffee in this. So,
Yeah. No, that's how I feel
personal opinion.
too. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just same thing. Yeah. Um, and then I'll also do like a cold brew. Sometimes I'll do a cold brew,
okay.
even though that's really caffeinated. Though that's pretty strong. So.
I mean, look, if you knew how much caffeine I took in, you would be worried about my heart.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how many coffees do you drink a day?
It's not coffee necessarily that I
Oh,
drink.
okay.
So I wake up early in the morning and I do a pre-workout before I go to the gym. I wake up at 4:30. I do a pre-workout,
Oh,
and my pre-workout is very heavy in caffeine, along with several other vitamins and things. And then I usually will come home, and if it's not a coffee I drink on top of that, it's a Ghost Energy, which is just nothing but pure caffeine and other like workout. And then on top of that, I'll also do creatine supplements. So my heart is just in a constant state of panic for the
oh
entire day.
wow. Oh my
And
gosh.
I think that's like if I didn't have that, I would probably develop anxiety because my heart's like, I don't know what's wrong because I'm not going a million miles an hour right now. So I look forward to an early death. Let's just
Oh gosh, stop it. Aw. Well, no, one of my brother actually takes creatine. He swears by it. Yeah, one of my brothers.
if you're lifting, it's a great tool. Not
Yeah.
for anything cardio based though. So if somebody's out there like, oh, I'm going to start doing creatine and going for a run, don't do it. That's a terrible idea. Speaking from experience here.
Yeah.
So obviously, a very talented writer. Do you have any other hobbies or things that you like to spend your time on?
Well, I watch a lot of horror movies. I love watching horror movies. I watch them partly because they're just, again, I like to go I like the crazy stories, and they do give me a lot of ideas, and they do help with my writing. I like, sometimes I'll watch a scene and be like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like, how would I describe something like that in my writing? And then yeah, gosh, my family and I, we hang out a lot, lots of family time, especially on the weekends. Um, we played this game called Sushi Go. It's a little card game. It's just sushi cards, and you kind of like, I don't know, play this. It's a fun game. So, and then I like to take walks, bike rides. Spend time with friends, families. So pretty chill. I mean, I'm not a big. I don't really go out a lot because, again, introvert. So I'll go out maybe like, I don't know, 1 or 2 times a month for dinner or something with friends. But yeah, so that's pretty it. I mean, that's pretty much it.
It's great because I think everybody who is listening to this is going to be like, okay, so horror author, she's obviously into taxidermy. She's probably, into mountain bones someplace. And you're like, no, I bicycle. I play little card games with my family.
I know, right? It's so funny though, because that's the funny thing, because they always say, what's that saying? You are not your stories. The writer is not, not your stories. And I think a fun thing about being a writer personally, and I'm sure you share this idea as well, is writing stories that are very different from your personality. Yeah. I don't think I could ever write stories that are, me. Like, obviously my characters are me, but I like to write stuff that's challenging and kind of just break down some boundaries and just play with some different ideas, and yeah, and just I don't know, just have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sinner's Pass was just an exercise in writing other types of people for me. Mm-hmm. So learned a lot about that. So when whether or not you enjoy it or not, when it's out there, 100% just taught me how to write people who aren't me, and that's what I wanted to try and learn how to do. So I completely get that. Yeah. So your husband games, do you game?
A little bit. I mostly play Zelda. I love Breath of the Wild. Gosh, I played a lot of, I mean, obviously I never beat the original Zelda. I mean, I remember when it came out for the NES. Such a hard game. but yeah, I'm big into Tetris. I love playing Tetris. Tetris Effect is a big game I like to play. I don't know if you ever heard of Tetris Effect.
I haven't heard of Tetris Effect, but I've heard of. I mean, obviously, I've played Tetris, and I was actually going to share with you something you need to try with Tetris with your husband. But please
Okay.
finish your side before I try and steal anything here.
Oh no, it's all good. Um, uh, yeah, what was it? Tears of the Kingdom. Oh, was that the other Zelda game? I played. I played both of those games. I mostly like puzzle games. Uh, so yeah, so I'll play other games here and there. I'll try them out. But yeah, my husband and my son both play just, oh my gosh. I mean, my son's beat Elden Ring about probably like 4 times now, which is insane. It's a very hard game. He plays Hollow Knight, Bloodborne, and so it's cute because him and my son and my husband bond a lot over video games. They really enjoy that as a pastime. So, but again, I'm more of like a, as soon as the next Zelda comes out, oh, I'm playing it. So yeah, not so much as big a gamer as them, but I do enjoy it.
So, horror author who does not play horror games, got it.
No.
I was waiting for you to be like, yeah, I'm a huge Dead Space fan. I was gonna be like, yes, that is a great. But you're like Zelda, the brightest colored game I could imagine.
I know, right? It's so pretty. It's such a beautiful game.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So I have to share this with you. Obviously, I take it that your son's pretty young, so I'll say this game is probably more for when you're just with your husband. But if you're playing Tetris and you're playing against each other, what we did, and I'll let you figure out when I learned how to play this game, is if you clear a line, they have to drink from a beer, and then if you get a Tetris, they have to take a shot.
Oh, geez.
And yeah, I'll just like you said, oh geez, and that's all you need to know. Just
because sometimes it's pretty easy to get a lot of Tetrises.
Yeah, back to back. So yeah, a friend introduced that. He goes, I have a way that we're gonna spend our afternoon. So I was like, oh, okay. And then it became a thing for us for a very long period. I don't drink very much anymore, if at all now, but I think that's probably why I don't drink a lot anymore.
Yeah, that would spur me too.
All right. Well, Janelle, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to include all your links out there. But just before we go, can you go ahead and let my audience know, again, reintroduce yourself, where they can find you, and where all your books are listed?
Sure. So thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I've really enjoyed our talk. It's been really fun. So I'm Janelle Schiecke. I like to write horror. So I have Ghost Room and Death Cult, and I have Clatterman. Well, it will probably be out, when this video comes out. And you can find me on Twitter, X. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Goodreads, and my website, JanelleSchiecke.com. And both my books are available on Amazon as ebook and paperback, and Death Cult's also an audiobook.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again. And for everybody out there, I'm Sean Fitzgerald, your host with Birds with Words. And until we speak again, stay frosty. Bye.